Oh, Wolvie, time to wake up. Rise and shine, Stubby.
We mentioned in the last session, Deadpool actually, that wasn't the first time we've heard or seen of Nolan North's Deadpool. In fact, there was another game that we caught him on, and, here we are with that.
Yep, so as kind of a follow-up to last week's insanity.
Oh, yeah. Do it over!
Oh, God.
Oh, my God, that was so fucking beautiful. And it's still beautiful. A week later, it's still beautiful. That should tell you something right there.
So we're gonna take it back a couple of years, back to
2010.
Back to 2010, when Activision was still really big with the Marvel franchise, with the Marvel licensed games. And I have to admit, although Activision has been on a downward slide as of recent, you got to remember back to their halcyon days on the PS2 with games like X-Men Legends and the follow-up X-Men Legends 2: Rise of Apocalypse. Gold.
Good gaming. Good gaming.
Now, in X-Men Legends, you were actually playing as Magma, and you got the chance to play through the game with her as she had just barely made it to the Xavier.
I was gonna say, wasn't she that game only creation though of Stan Lee's? I thought he only made Magma. Oh no, it was that Magma was like a very old superhero that no one had seen hide nor hair of, and then suddenly boom, we get into this game.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, and X-Men Legends was really kind of nice in that, you were actually playing that as an RPG from the viewpoint of a central character. There was still so much going on in just the world of the X-Men in general, but you actually got to see it through Magma's viewpoint, and Cree Summer's voice work was amazing.
Yes.
I honestly cannot think of that character. Now, I can't think of Magma without her voice attached to it.
The other thing is also, like you had mentioned earlier, it was for all that was action adventure, it was an RPG. You got to build skill points, you got to allocate points and personalize your character.
Yeah.
It was an awesome thing.
And then the follow-up with X-Men 2, Rise of Apocalypse, that's when it got real. It always does get real whenever you have some sort of X-Men property, and then everything's all nice and neat and orderly, Brotherhood of Mutants, X-Men. And then you throw Apocalypse in there and the whole thing just goes...
Until Wolvie solves everything. But the actual Wolverine, not Wolverman the Origins. It's not... Wolverman the Originals never existed anyway. So.
And in X-Men Legends 2, that was when you got something that was still, a really big story event where you wound up having to team up with the Brotherhood in order to stop Apocalypse.
And also just whoop some ass in general.
And as much as I enjoyed the segment of the story where you see what happens to Angel and how he gets converted into Archangel, that scene in X-Men Legends 2 still to this day gives me chills.
But on the other hand, I saw that shit in the original cartoon back in the 90s.
No, you see...
With the yellow floating wheelchair X-Men.
Yeah.
They did that.
Yeah, they did that in the cartoon. They did that in the comics. But again, there was that presentation in X-Men Legends 2 where you're just like, whoa, dude.
As a video gamer is what it is.
Yeah.
Affecting you as a video gamer. If they can do that, it's all good.
It gets you as a video gamer, and then on that secondary, but still important level, as a fan of the comics. Follow that up, hot on the heels of both those games' commercial and critical successes, then you have Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Holy cow! Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Now, wasn't that on the next-gen systems, PS3 and such? Or was that still PS2?
That was PS2, and I think it released on PS3 as well.
Wouldn't be surprised.
But Ultimate Alliance was the first of the games where you actually had such a huge roster of heroes from all over the Marvel Universe basically coming together to...
Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, basically forming an Ultimate Alliance. And in that, they actually focused on more of, specialized team attacks. And, they really focused on team synergy. And it was really something, especially with the multiple endings that you get, depending on whether or not you saved Nightcrawler or Jean Grey. You know, how you dealt with things on the, oh my god, the Shi'ar homeworld.
Ah, yes.
Also, just various little things that affected how the ending played out after you beat the game.
So ultimately, like a good RPG, multiple choices, multiple options, building the story as you go along, whooping ass. And then you got...
When Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 was announced, I don't know about the rest of you guys out there, but it certainly blew my mind out of my skull. I'm like, wait a minute, they're doing another one? Really? How are they going to top the first? And then came news that the game was going to be based on one of the really big, relatively recent crossover events in Marvel Comics, or at least one that's still very much talked about and referenced even to this day.
Hell, even by us.
Exactly. Civil War.
It was good. That was a great... Now, storyline-wise, how they just threw a monkey wrench into the very basics of superheroes and superheroines. That's the shit that I like the most about. That it's like, you want to talk about, like...
It's real world implications, real world events actually affecting the superhero community as a whole.
The fictional world of superheroes. But doing so in a way that's, like, actually believable to me.
I mean, whenever you see movies like, whenever you see movies like Thor, Captain America, Man of Steel, when you see these movies, you wonder, okay, the Avengers.
Yeah.
You wonder, with all this massive stuff going on, with literally cities damn near being bombed out of existence, invaded by aliens, you wonder how that's going to affect the rest of the world at large.
And in
after
those
the
movies,
credits roll.
But in those movies, they do actually present what's going down, how the normal people look upon superheroes,
Yeah, and with stuff like, for example, with Captain America, the Winter Soldier, you see that's going to be happening 2 years after the events of Avengers, and you see, just how things have changed, not just on a global scale, but also on a personal scale for certain characters like Cap, Black Widow, even Nick Fury, and the people at S.H.I.E.L.D.
Even secrets have secrets. Hey, we were just talking about it earlier. I can't see anybody but Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. You know what I mean? That's just done.
But I mean, it's one of those things where you wonder how the rest of the world is going to be affected by what happens in that particular story. Give me just a quick second. I'm gonna go strangle my phone because I forgot to turn it off.
Whereas I did not. My phone, being the responsible one of us, had mine off.
You and responsibility.
Hey, I'm a responsible one. So anyway.
You and responsibility.
Being wild has nothing to do with taking care of my responsibilities. Yeah. But speaking of which, so the Civil War in this.
Yeah, but as I was saying though, in the movies, you wonder how one event is going to affect the rest of the world. But with Civil War, it's multiple events from what goes on with the different superheroes having an effect on a grand social political scale, and then having that effect come back to them.
Ultimately, it was always about you don the mask because you want to protect those you love. Spider-Man and Auntie May, for instance, or even MJ. And then you got the others who just don't give a fuck. Tony Stark. And ultimately, I mean, it did boil down to Captain America and Tony Stark, pretty much, from what I've noticed of Civil War. That was pretty much... And Deadpool, Deadpool running amok.
Basically, you've seen shades of it in the early X-Men comics with, the mutant registration.
Oh, yes. The Sentinels and such.
But then when when something like that actually sees the light of day, when something like that actually hits in the form of the Superhuman Registration Act, you've got... They say politics makes for strange bedfellows? Oh boy. You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
And what this all leads to is literally a massive civil war. The entirety of the known superhuman community is split in two. Those who are for actual government registration of superhumans and mutants, as opposed to those who are against registration. With those who are actually for registration, you've got the likes of, again, Iron Man. Someone who's really prominent on the.
He doesn't give a fuck. Like I said earlier, he puts his private out in public. Period. Also, the Salt Lake City Avengers. Let's not forget that.
The Great Lakes Avengers.
Great Lakes Avengers. Yeah. Keep calling Salt Lake City.
But
the Mormon Avengers.
But then you have people like Captain America, who is the embodiment of old-fashioned ideals, not just as far as old-fashioned ideals of what it means to be an American, but also what it means to be a superhero. Like that bastard said earlier, you don the mask to protect those you love, while protecting those you don't even know.
Although, if you want to consider a funny DC variant, that's like Superman versus Batman. Soup, who never wears a mask, versus Batman, whom everyone knows is Bruce Wayne but doesn't want to admit it. And now, Amelia, actually, another comic, just throw this out there before we cut to the gang footage, because goddamn. I want you to really consider this one. It was Lex Luthor, or no, it was Metallo, I think it was, texting Lex Luthor, I discovered that Superman's Clark Kent! And Lex Luthor's like, so?
No.
And Metallo's all, well, we can catch him while he's sleeping! And he's all like, do you really think he's any less bulletproof asleep than he is awake? So, and Soup's, but that's like, now we're starting to get into game geek, comic book geek philosophy, though. How Superman, is wearing the clothes of his, of his homeland, Fuck Superman. Batman whooped his ass 5 times sideways and has done so canon twice.
But, I mean, back on the topic of Civil War.
Let's go back to Marvel and DC.
I mean, you even get, like, really deep personal struggles when you're actually looking at how has everyone split. I mean, hell, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
That was the first family of superheroes. The freaking Fantastic Four.
Split right down the fucking middle.
Yep. You had Johnny firmly against registration. Same with Sue. Reed was for it. And after seeing what was happening with the others, Ben was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Fuck it all. I'm gone.
Sidestepped that whole fucking situation.
And I mean, Ben is Reed's road dog, man. And he's just said...
But considering what it's done to his family... Yeah.
He's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go back to Yancey Street for a little bit, but after that... Until this blows over, you won't find me.
Now, you know who didn't straight up give a fuck about Civil War to the point where he even thrived during that time? Deadpool! Motherfucker did not give a shit. In fact, he was doing other things.
Actually, Deadpool was pro-reg.
I remember him. No, but he was hunting he was hunting anti-reg.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing. He didn't
exactly, but effectively he was pro-reg because he
got to fight Captain America.
But aside from that, he's a mercenary. Ex-military, his idea was all public.
Yeah, but at the same time, once again, he didn't give a fuck. He was hunting. He went after the fucking Great Lakes Avengers, and they were already registered. He didn't care. Well, he didn't know, quote unquote, but still, he did not give a fuck. As long as you were on his list, and he can make money. He was hunting your ass. Seriously.
But you see, here's the thing, though. Here is the big thing, and this is the reason why we have gone so deep into just discussing the Civil War as story material. Number one, in the comics, it was so poorly executed. Disastrously poorly executed. I mean, hell, you could go to that guy with the glasses, look up Linkara's rant on Civil War. Trust me, He'll go off on that shit like he did on One More Date.
I'd like to point out something. For once, Ace alienated 1/3 of our fans. Right there. There goes all our comic friends. Bye, guys.
Actually, there's a good portion of the comic community that actually agrees with me when I say
Es posible.
that they fucked it up. I mean, come on. How the hell the writers at Marvel who were penning the story for Civil War were actually expecting the people at large to be pro-registration. They were expecting that, even considering that the people at large have read some of the older issues of X-Men, and they know that, registration tended to lead to some rather nasty shit, Sentinels.
Bishop. Although he's cool though, he's cool. But not Black Tom, but one motherfucker. Cassidy, the one that ended up sucking up the Hellfire Club and tore open a hole.
I think that was Cassidy, yeah.
Black Tom Cassidy. Yeah. Well, no, Fitzroy. It was Fitzroy. Sucking up all the Hellfire Club and just and then Bishop showed up and beat his shit into the ground. Just beat him into the fucking dirt.
But I mean, even with that aside, even with previous comic history aside, there was so much bullshit that went into that was actually put into the writing for Civil War, that at the end the whole thing was just universally panned because of how bad the writing was. And I'm sorry. That scene near the end of Civil War where they have this reporter, actually doing an interview with Captain America and straight up bitching him out for standing up for his ideals as a superhero.
I would almost blame this on writer bias. Speaking as a writer, Thomas Duder, author of the things. So, speaking as a writer, your bias does come into play. And for all we know, these guys, I mean, it's kind of like how you choose people who don't really know movies to review movies or to act in movies even. Some motherfuckers that are in the movies are more to theater than anything, you know what I mean? But they're still going to put out some of the best performances, and at the same time, some of the worst. Same thing here. Their biases are going to come in and mess with everything. But in the game we're about to review and check out, that was addressed somewhat.
So, yeah. Late title card. Today, we're going to be reviewing, we're going to be grilling, and
roast.
Frankly, enjoying to a good degree, Activision's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. This is what I have effectively called Civil War done right. All will be explained in what remains of Part 1, and definitely over the entirety of Part 2.
See y'all then.
So stick around. We got some gaming to do.
Welcome back, ladies and germs. Here's the promised gameplay. But, I'm not going to knock on you for taking too much time because, for the love of God, the meat of the story, the Civil War itself, and leading up to the fact that, yes, they screwed it up in the comics, but boy, did they do it good in the fucking game.
Yeah, sir.
seriously, this is one of those where I was almost considering just making the entirety of part 1 just headspace, but honestly, and that bastard was right. While we were talking about it before actually setting up the gameplay footage. You guys are here to see gameplay. If we're gonna be grilling a game, then you got to be watching us play something, right?
We'll play it full. Now the other thing is Latveria. Out of all the fictional countries that have ever existed, Doomstadt Latveria is one of my favorites. Naturally, Doom.
Now, one of the things I was mentioning was that the Civil War story arc is a perfect example of just actions having consequences. And the way everything is played up here is a perfect example of those actions having consequences.
Here we have the Avengers.
Wolverine going all stabby.
Whoopsie doodles. You mentioned before in the Headspace segment about the combined attacks. I mean, one thing I'm just going to throw this out here. With this game, this is Activision tried and true and doing gold. You know what I mean? I mean, from X-Men Legends 1 and 2, Ultimate Alliance 1, what we're seeing here is not stale and placid, but much like with the Dynasty Warriors games, just what's tried and what's true, and then you expand on it. That's what you can expect from this game right here. God, he's so not Samuel L. Jackson. That's my only issue with this. That's always been my issue with this. I mean, for the love of God, they changed the comics to represent Black Samuel L. Jackson, Black Nick Fury, When Samuel L. Jackson did it, that was done. That was like, there was a grandfather clause in reality that retroactively turned white Nick Fury black. I ain't even being racist. I'm just being real. You gotta understand. I know you do, Ace. You do, And I'm pretty certain our audience does by now. They know our shit. Come on. Nick Fury just striding out the fucking... Even his secrets have secrets.
Now, as you can plainly see from the gameplay, if you've played the earlier Ultimate Alliance game, or if you've played any of X-Men Legends, you already know what to expect once you get to this screen right here. You got your basic and heavy attacks, which are mapped to the X and circle buttons on the PS3. Mm-hmm. And of course, the heavy attacks you can actually hold down and charge for like knockback. And you can also, of course, mix your attacks together for things like pop up. Let's see, tripping and knockdown attacks, and of course, heavy knockback attacks.
Now I just think that strategically speaking, knowing these abilities will help you. Certainly ain't gonna hurt.
Certainly ain't gonna hurt.
Hey, at least you didn't run away.
Let's see, then of course you have jump, which is mapped to X, and you can do various aerial smash attacks, or just aerial attacks in general.
I would think some characters could even fly.
Like Iron Man, for example.
Smart bomb!
Or let's say if you decide to use, I believe it's the D-pad to actually switch characters this time around. So let's say if you switch to Web Hit.
Spider-Man!
As you can see, he's more, he's obviously more of an agile character.
For them. Castle straight ahead, barring a few twists and turns.
And mobile.
Move out.
But also with certain characters who have like super strength, which
All
I
systems go.
think Iron Man does. Oh wait, I think that's one of the attributes that you actually have to level up. Oh God, run away! The car's gonna blow.
Whoops. Now, could shit like that hurt the enemy?
Oh yes.
The other thing is also, can you pick up said cars and throw them at
Always
people?
hit these
That's what
guys
I was
first
actually
in a
referring
fight.
to.
Otherwise, they'll just keep picking you off.
Well, once again, in this kind of game, this is also, we had mentioned the headspace in the intro, that, you know, you get to level up the abilities. You get to choose what abilities you get to go with as you continue on.
Yep.
And that's for all the characters, I would think. So eventually you can mix and match and grind and do all that fun shit that we like to do.
And that little plus icon that I just picked up right there,
Yeah.
you can use that to revive any of your characters that get knocked out.
And you're gonna need them.
Oh, yes. And then, of course...
Through the shield.
And then, of course, you have various abilities for each character, like, of course, with Cap, you have... Captain America throws his mighty shield.
No matter if it's an alien, an evil warlord, or a god, you can always rest assured that Captain America will throw his shield at it.
But then you also have other, like, support abilities. Well, you have 2 direct attack abilities, and you also have support abilities, which can be mapped to, which are mapped to the square and triangle, I believe it was.
I would also think passive abilities, like, for instance, Wolverine's regeneration.
Yeah.
Classically,
I can't
regeneration.
Signal must be jammed.
You know, if I remember correctly, in the comics, he wasn't really, like, that much about regeneration. Like, back in the day. Like, he was about regeneration, yeah, but it wasn't like when he got stuck in the Antarctica and he lived off of, like, cutting off bits of his shoulders and eating those.
Or, like, you know, Silver Samurai stabbing him through the heart.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I still haven't seen that Wolverine, or the actual Wolverine Origins one.
Oh, you mean the Wolverine?
Yeah, the Wolverine. I heard it was actually pretty good.
I could have swore I took you to it.
Nope.
We're gonna have to fix that.
Hey, there's plenty of games. There's plenty of movies out there to check out. It's just, you know, that was just one of the ones that I was like, meh, about. Just because of Wolverine Origins, which sucked.
But now we were talking about character upgrades.
And the team.
This is where we actually take you to, you know, the team menu. And, you know, you get to pick who you want, or at least pick who you want to manage and modify. Of course, you got Tony, Steve, everyone's favorite hard luck arachnid,
So hard luck.
and Stubby.
Stubby. You know, it kind of reminds me of when, what was it, Batman versus Iron Man? You know, Wayne, Stark, and they start throwing money at each other. In the last panel, Spider-Man's picking it up. Like, he's just like, oh, dear God.
All that money.
He's got rent to pay, goddammit. Mm-hmm. But as you progress through the game, you can unlock more of your team.
Yeah, you can unlock more characters. You can actually see the silhouettes for all the characters that are available.
Yep.
That will be available once you have everyone unlocked.
And everyone has their favorites. Everyone has their favorite team, their favorite characters they want to play.
I mean, hell, even back in Ultimate Alliance 1, I was a diehard. You could not convince me to put together a team that did not have Cap or Wolverine on it.
Well, outside of team attacks, because that was one of the biggest things of the game that we were just mentioning, is team attacks. Like what happened earlier where fucking Nick Fury, there was Iron Man shot at Wolverine and just kind of like spread shot that around with his claws. Mm-hmm. It hurt, but you know. Some of the ones that's been shown in the commercials, like the Hulk speedball throwing Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another one where Captain America, somebody jumps off his shield, you know, to reach higher places.
But yeah, let's go into the actual, character management menu. And this right here is where you take a look at, the different attacks and abilities. Okay, so that's right. There are four attack abilities, and each one
Claw kebab.
Each one has a unique attribute that they open up as you level them up. Pretty much once you hit those red points right there, those are thresholds, where you won't be able to go past that until you hit a certain level. But once you hit that threshold, and once you're actually able to break that threshold, then that's when you can start adding like additional abilities onto those attacks.
Huh. Kind of like what they tried to do with Remember Me.
Yeah. And then, of course, you were also mentioning the passive abilities.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Healing factor, which is always good. And, such things like wounding strikes where you can, do extra bleeding damage to your opponents. Let's see.
All wounding attacks.
Yep. let's see, conditioning, stuff that not only bumps up your stats, but also gives you extra abilities that are unique to the characters in the context of how this game would actually translate their powers.
Yeah.
So let's see. Precise strikes, obviously.
Now, the ability points, is that a shared pool or is that for each one?
I think it is a shared...
511. Nope. Each one gets it individually.
So each one gets it individually.
Even better, in my opinion. Oh my god, as a min-maxer, that makes me happy. Because then it's like, I'm not going, well, I'm only going to share it with these characters and do it with these characters. No, everybody gets bumped.
But you'll also notice that certain abilities, you'll see the little requirement up near the top.
Noticed, yeah. Pro-red. Oh, shit.
Yeah, there is actually quite literally going to be a point in the game where, the Superhuman Registration Act is going to go into effect, and you are literally going to be there in Stark Tower with your team, and you will be standing in front of Maria Hill, who is at this point the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after Nick Fury got ousted.
Yeah.
Like I said, he got shafted.
Yeah.
But you'll be standing in front of Hill, and you will literally walk up to her, and you will have the choice to either sign your name to the Registration Act, or as I call it, signing away your soul.
It is.
Or go anti-reg and basically fight your way out of Stark Tower.
Now, question, I don't want to ruin it too much, but now you've stated it before, you have never played Pro-Reg. And that's the way it should be.
I did once, and throughout the entire playthrough, I was literally physically ill.
Oh, damn.
Because I could not stand... I couldn't stand Hill.
Wow.
I mean, in the comics and in this game, I see her as an objectively horrible person.
She is. But then again, we here at the Hooligans are very biased. Especially when it comes to shit like this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's character upgrading, and that's a little bit of the basics of the gameplay, so we'll go ahead and cut it here, and after the break, we'll get more in-depth into the gameplay, as well as doing our usual audio-visual critique.
Check out Nick Fury freaking out. Doing the dance.
God, we'll see after the break.
Oh, he finally stopped.